Hey guys, in this quick tutorial, I'm going to show you how to set up group calendars inside your Music Teacher Pros account. This is super helpful if you have multiple teachers and want students to see each teacher's availability and book directly with them. So before we jump into the calendars, make sure you've already added your teacher as a staff member in your account. You can do that by going to Settings and then clicking on My Staff. And then click the blue button up here that says Add User. And just fill out their first name, last name, and email, and they will automatically get their login credentials sent to them. You can also adjust their permissions here if you don't want them to access certain parts of your account. So just go ahead and review this and just toggle off what you don't want them to see. And once that's all set, we're ready to create calendars for each teacher. So just head over to the Calendars tab. And to begin, just click on New Calendar and choose Class Booking and start filling out the details. So for calendar name, just use the teacher's name and instrument they teach so it's easy to identify. So for example, piano lessons with teacher A. And then under Select Team Member, choose the staff member this calendar is for. Next is the custom URL. So this part just needs to be unique. So something simple like this. So this custom URL will appear at the end of the calendar link. And then we have the meeting duration. So this would usually be 30 or 45 or 60 minutes, depending on your lesson length. I'll just leave that to 30 minutes. Then we have seats per class, depending on how many students that teacher can handle in one time slot. For example, if they teach in groups of 5, then just set this to 5. And then we have booking availability. So on this area, you will not have the option to go in depth on the availability. So just leave that as it is for now, as we can edit that later on. And then under meeting location, if you're teaching in person and using different rooms, you can add the room name in here, like room 1 or room 2, however your rooms are called. And if you're teaching online, you can add your meeting links here. Unfortunately, for class booking calendar, we can't select your integrated platform, so you have to manually paste your meeting links on this field. So let's just go ahead and click confirm and then close this. And then let's edit the calendar that we just created by clicking the pencil icon here. So you'll see more of the calendar settings. So you can add a logo and you can even add a description of the calendar. And if you scroll down, you can even change the meeting title. So when a student books their lesson on this calendar, this is how it's going to appear on the student's calendar and on your calendar. So you might want to update this. So let's just copy the name of the calendar and add that here, just like that. And then hit save at the top. Now the next tab here is the availability tab. And this is where your teacher can set their specific schedule. So they can just select their specific schedule by clicking this time ranges here. And then if you scroll down, you will see the recurring meeting option. So if your students will be having a fixed weekly lesson, say every Tuesday at 4 p.m., then you can turn on the recurring meeting option. So you can update the frequency to weekly and also set how many times it's going to repeat. So if you set this to 4, that means that the lesson will repeat every week for 4 times. So that would be about 1 month worth of lessons. This feature also makes it easy for them to book a repeating schedule all at once. So when setting up the recurring meeting option, you'll have a few options here for how the calendar handles unavailable times within the recurring series. So you have skip booking unavailable slots. So if a particular date is already full, the system will just skip it. So if the student books 4 weeks but 2 slots are taken, then only the 2 available ones will be confirmed. And if you select force book, then the system will still book those unavailable time slots, and you can choose whether they appear as confirmed or unconfirmed. And this gives you the flexibility to manage them manually. And lastly, we have here book next available slot. So if the chosen time is full, the system will find the next open time slot and use that instead. So this ensures that the student still gets the total number of lessons they booked, even if some are at slightly different times. So just pick the setting that best matches your teaching schedule if you do want to use the recurring meeting option. So I'll just turn that off for now. And next up here is the slot interval. If you want students to be able to book on the hour and half hour, like 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m. or 11 a.m., then you can set this to 30 minutes. But if you want them to only be able to book on the hour like 10 a.m., 11 a.m., or 12 p.m., then you can set this to 60 minutes. So just keep in mind that setting it to something like 45 minutes can show irregular time options. So just stick to what makes the most sense for your teacher's schedule. And then you can also set a minimum scheduling notice to avoid last-minute bookings. For example, you can require 18 hours notice or 1 day. So let's just set this to 1 day. And then we have date range, which lets you control how far in advance people can book. If you only want them to book 1 week ahead, then you can set this to 7 days. And you'll also see the pre-buffer and post-buffer settings. And these settings give your teachers some breathing room. So if they need 10 minutes to prep before a lesson or wrap up after a lesson, you can add that time here. So just make sure to hit save at the top so you don't lose the updates made on this page. And then under forms and payment area, there's an option here to use the payment feature. However, it will only work if you have your Stripe account integrated. So this is an optional feature if you want your students to be able to pay while booking their lessons. So this works great if you're selling lessons directly from the calendar rather than taking payment somewhere else. So just set this depending whether you want students to book and pay for open lesson slots themselves, or you're just using the calendar to manage lessons that have already been paid for. So you can add the correct currency in here and the amount. And if you do use this, make sure to just toggle this to live so that you will actually start taking payments. So again, I'll just toggle this off and move on to the next page. So now we have notifications and additional options where you can enable notifications for new bookings or cancellations and so on. So if you want to toggle on notifications for cancellation, just simply click the pencil icon up here and toggle this on. Then you'll see the default email templates included, which you can customize. So under contact, this is what your student will receive. And under assigned user, this is what your teacher will receive whenever somebody cancels their lesson. And lastly, we have additional emails. So if you want other people aside from your teacher to be notified by the cancellation, you can include it right here. And if you scroll down, there's a field down here to add the email address of the person you want to add. So again, just make sure to hit save down here if you did make any changes. So let's just hit close. And if we scroll down, I would advise to tick this box to assign the student to the teacher they booked a lesson for. And below that is also where you can enable or disable cancellations or rescheduling. If you want to enable this feature, just simply toggle it on. But if you don't want, then just simply toggle it off just like that. So just hit save. Lastly, we have the customizations area where you can upload a cover image and add your branding colors into the calendar. So just to remind you again, if you did make any changes in here, make sure to always hit save up here. So once the first calendar is ready, you can duplicate it to create calendars for your other teachers. Just simply click the 3 dots and click duplicate. And then make sure to update the calendar name. And also update the custom URL. As well as the meeting invite title. And the assigned user on this calendar if it's going to be a different teacher. And make sure to also update the meeting location. And then hit save at the top. And lastly, update the availability as needed. So once you've got all of your individual calendars set up, we're going to group them together into a single group calendar. And this is what your students will use to see everyone's availability in one place. So back here on the calendars list, you want to click on new group on the left side. And then give your group a name. You can simply use your business name. You may also include a group description. And then we also have to add a group URL. Again, you can just simply use your business name in here and then click on create. And once your group is created, click the 3 dots next to it and choose edit group. And under the field called added calendar, select all of your teacher's calendar and then hit save. And then to share the group calendar, just click on the three dots again and select share group. And you'll see two link options here, which is scheduling link and permanent link. Just take note that the scheduling link will break if you change the URL later. So we always recommend just using the permanent link. This way you never have to update it again. So you can share these links directly with your student and add it to your website, or even embed it using the embed code provided right here. So let's just go ahead and copy the permanent link and open that on a new tab so you can see how it looks like. So here's how it's going to look like when the students use the group calendar link. They can select the specific teacher they want to book a lesson for and see the teacher's availability, just like this. So that's everything you need to know about setting up group calendars for your teachers. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us in the group. We'll see you there.